Hey everyone, welcome back. So what we're gonna do today, just for a little taste, is we're gonna deploy this cluster. And I have it all demo deployed out. So we're gonna deploy all these services. We're gonna have Kubevip. So we're gonna have high available kubeAPI with Kubevip. I only have 2 nodes I'm gonna set up, but you would just repeat the step for joining a node. And then we're gonna do Traefik with Cert Manager. We're gonna do a private CA. We're also gonna do a Cloudflare CA or certificate issuer. And then we're gonna set up Metallb, Argocd to manage everything. And then we're gonna have Headlamp on there as a dashboard. And then also Grafana Alloy to get all the metrics, logs, and traces. It'll have an open telemetry collector and also get all the Prometheus operator resources you make. So, and then it's going to forward them to external. I've already set up a Prometheus, Tempo, and Loki externally, so I'm just going to forward it into those. And then we're also going to set this up with OAuth. So our cluster, we can do the OIDC login. Headlamp will have it, and Argocd, you'll be able to do single sign-on for all of them. I'm going to use Zitadel for that. So that is going to be what we're going to do. I'm going to break it up into different videos. So the first one, all we're going to do right now is we're going to get the cluster set up. We're going to deploy Kubevip, Metallb, and yeah, we're just going to bootstrap the node, join the node, and we'll set it up with OAuth as well. So if you can see over here, I have these 2 nodes that are ready to go. And so to do this, I'm going to uninstall these. Oops, user local bin. All right, so now my cluster is completely deleted. So when I try to go back to these pages, you can see it's going to lose connection. So if I refresh this, gone, gone, gone. So let's kind of get started here first. So what we kind of need to do is create a node manager project, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. And there's going to be, the first thing that's really important is the K3s config, and we're going to do a config file. I've kind of found this is just the easiest way to do it. And what you do first is you're going to set up your IP addresses of the nodes you're going to use, and also add the Kubevip IP that you want to use. This is going to be the HA IP address that you'll use to talk to all your nodes. And then you can also add the DNS name that you're going to use. So this is the one I'm going to use for my cluster. And then I'm going to give each node also one of these host names. So this way I can add more nodes in the future and I don't have to worry about these IP addresses. But I at least want to get some, at least the first 3 in and the Kubevip IP. That'll be really important. And then we're going to disable the service load balancer because we're going to use Metallb. And then we're going to deploy Traefik, manage that ourselves. And down here, this is optional if you don't, but we're going to do it. So you're going to add your issuer. So this is mine. And then you're going to add your client ID and the username claim. You could do like the subject SUB, or I'm just doing email. And then you're going to have this groups claim. So I have this all set up. I'm going to use the proof key code exchange. And I got this client ID. It matches up right here. And in my project, I also have some roles I made. So I have this cluster admin and Argocd administrator. So these are going to be the 2 different roles that I'm going to be using in this. And something else is I have to create this groups claim. So I have this action that gets used in Zitadel, and I do have it in a project, so don't worry about that if you can't see it very well. But this is just going to push all the roles they have onto this groups or roles claim in the token. And then that is going to be done on complement token. I just put it on both of them. So we have that project set up. And then what I did is you're going to add it to here. So get that set up exactly like that. We're also going to set everything up to work for metrics. So we're going to expose the metrics. And we're going to use the embedded etcd database. So that's pretty much the config file. It's pretty simple. you're just going to copy this onto your server, which you can see. I have it right here, so I can cat that config out. And it's the same on both servers. I have this set up. So now let's go back to here. I'm going to make this bigger as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bootstrap the node. So you're going to put the K3s version you want to get. And if you want to do that, you can just Google K3s releases, and it's going to take you to their GitHub page. And you can see all their different tags that are available. So I grabbed the latest one, put it right here. Pretty simple. And then this is going to be for Grafana Alloy later. This prevents inode busting, so not super important. But if you don't do this, you might run into issues with it trying to watch logs. It'll say there's too many folders open. So you can set this up to get around that. And then this is just going to prepare our config file, put it in the correct spot. And then we're going to use curl, download the binary version of that install version we want to use. And then for convenience, I'm going to make a K3s folder in the home folder, and we'll put in the kube config and the node token. So let's go ahead and bootstrap this cluster. So I have all these over here already. So I'm going to just run this bootstrap.sh script. So it's going to download K3s, and now it's starting it. And then what I can say is sudo kubectl get nodes. And then we see our laptop's connected. And then the values I'm going to need from this is, let's go into this K3s folder. You can see I have both those. So let's do the node token. And then I'm going to copy this value. Oops. And then I have this notes here. So I'm going to put my node token in. And then let's also get the config. So I'm going to have to do sudo. And then let me just make that look a little nicer. And then I'm just going to copy this right now and go to my config section and plop that in there. So now this one is done. So we just have to do the join. So let's look at that join script real quick. And if you look at it, it has a spot for the bootstrap IP or the Kubevip, which we don't have set up yet. And then we have the node token. So you need to make sure this matches, and then you have all these filled in. And how it works is it's going to use the same config file, but it's going to put it in join mode and use the token to join the way that we set it up and install it. And then all the rest is the exact same. So what we'll do here is let's edit this join script. And then I put the IP address of, let me see if I can make this bigger. I put the IP of my server right here. And then now I'm just going to copy this token in. So let's go to this node token. And then I'm going to copy this. Oops. And I have that node token in. And then so now all we're going to do is run join. So now it's starting up, and then it's going to connect. And as long as we don't get an error message, it'll connect successfully. I don't. Here, let me try running it as sudo join. Let's check it on this one. Okay, so for something's getting weird on this one. That's really weird that if I ran it like that, it worked. Well, anyway, it's working over here, so it's connected. Just ignore that. I don't know why that happened. Sometimes you get weird bugs. So now what we're going to do is we need to prepare our kube config. So we have our new one here. And then let me open up mine. Now I have my kube config opened up here, and let's put it to the left, and then we'll have this new one here on the right. So as you can see, I have this root version set up. So to add this, a simple thing I can do is just copy this line, delete that one. So now I have the public CA of my cluster ready to go with the right IP. And then now I just need to get this user. So I'm going to copy this user right here. And in this Hlab root, I'm going to just delete this here and paste that user in. And for this one, we can go ahead and remove this for right now. We'll set that up later. Let's remove this OIDC context. So right now I have a separate cluster, and then I have this one. So I have the root version, which is going to grab this Hlab root. This one uses the Kubevip. So I know that's a little probably confusing, but just kind of ignore this one for right now and ignore this one. So I've added this cluster, and then I've added the user, and then the context I'm using, let's switch to Hlab root. So the name, Hlab root, the user, Hlab root, the cluster, Hlab root. So that's kind of how you use this context. So now if I say kubectl get nodes, I see my cluster right here. So now that we have that set up, and we have a working cluster, let's close all. We can set up some roles with the RBAC real quick. So I have this admin role that's going to look for cluster admin. And then I have a user role, which just kind of allows them to do some things. And then I also have a cluster view role that I didn't create in my Auth service, but I bound it to the already existing view role. And then I made my custom user role. And then this is how you could make like one with a user policy. You could put your email in here and give yourself cluster admin. That works too. But what we're going to do, so let me go into my node manager folder here. And then we're going to apply this RBAC folder. We're just going to apply all these roles. We want to make sure those are created. And then now we're going to set up the OIDC login. So I have this script, and you're going to set that client ID and secret. If you use the secret, we're doing it in PKCE mode, so you can just leave it empty. And then this is going to run and set up the OIDC login plugin. And if you need to install that, you can just run this script and it'll do that for you. And then this should kind of configure everything. And so what we're going to do is let's run access, and it's login setup. So this is going to have you log in. I authenticated, okay. And then now it modified that context, and I don't really want it to, so we're going to fix that. So let's open up this config file. And it made this OIDC user. So you can look, it updated this context here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new one for OIDC, Hlab OIDC. And then over here, I'm going to put this back to Hlab root. So that way I can have a separate one for this. Because if your context stops working for some reason, you still want to be able to just quickly switch over and do whatever you need to do or still access your cluster. So this just kind of makes it easy to switch back and forth. So now if I say kubectl get nodes, I should do that. And then I can now, if I change my current context to OIDC, I can run it and it still works. So Now this is working, and this is going to be important when we install Headlamp. This is going to need to be set up on your kubeAPI. So everything is ready to go. So now we have a working cluster with OIDC set up for logging in. Now the next thing we're going to do is install Kubevip. So I have all these in a repo, which I'll share. But this is just a simple daemon set. So down here on line 54, you're going to put the IP address that you want it to use. So it'll create this virtual IP and everything for you. And this is the RBAC that you have to create. I got this all from their doc site. So this should automatically discover which interface to use if you comment this out. But if they're all the same, you can add that in. And we're going to do the same thing here. So let's go into this kubevip folder. And then I'm just going to say kubectl apply -f, everything in here. So now it created that. And then we can say kubectl get all -n kube system. And then we can see kubevip is right here and it's running in a running status. I know you can't really see through my picture. Let me make this a little bigger. Oh, I'm still in the way. Well, anyway, you can see it right there. It's running in a running mode. So that is set up. So what we can do now is let's go ahead and test that kubevip context. So what we can do is we already have it set up where we're using, so you can just duplicate this if you want and then change the host name and then give it a different name. So now this one's Hlab. So I'm going to use the OIDC. We're just going to use, whoops, right here. We're going to use the Hlab cluster. Oh, which I forgot. I need to update that. So let's update the certificate authority. Delete the old one. Now it's working. So if you get into that issue, if you already have it set up, you're resetting it up. Sometimes you have to just check to make sure you're using the right certificates. It's kind of a pain. But now we're using kubevip, our HA IP address for our kubeAPI server. And then now we're using our OIDC to log in. So we're already off to a great start. Kubevip is installed. And then now let's move on to Metallb. And to do this one, I'm using Customize. So I'm just going to install that version. And then if you look at the resources, I'm just setting an address pool that I want it to be allowed to create. So you can just change this to be whatever your address range is. So to apply this, let's go into our Metallb folder. And then we're going to do kubectl apply -k dot. And sometimes you will have to run this twice. Yeah, see, so it said, hold on. I didn't find that yet, so let's run it again. Sometimes you have to wait for this webhook to finish. We can wait a few seconds. Okay, so now it configured those and those are good to go. So now when we deploy Traefik, we'll be able to set up a virtual IP and tell our load balancers what IP address they want, and Metallb will provision those for them. So for now, I'm going to save Argocd for the next video. So that is coming up. That's what we're going to do next. And we're going to get Argocd set up with single sign-on. Eventually, we will do Discord webhook notifications. And then we will also set it up to manage all of these services on the cluster using a Git repo. So that's what we're going to do next. With this one, I will make this node manager project publicly available along with all of these pretty much. I'll put them in the description. Also, if you visit my doc site at devbuilddestroy.com, you can see all my guides and docs. I try to make like markdown write-ups so you can actually go through and do it. And kind of what that looks like is you can go here, and then I have this Hlab cluster guide. So what's cool about this is it's all just in local storage, but you can put your token in, and then you can put your group name in, and if it exists, it'll allow you to check these projects, and if it doesn't exist, you can create it. It'll create it for you. And then I kind of go through all the stuff we're going to deploy. You can see all the links to all the docs pages for them. And then you can see kind of the stuff we went through for the config files, how to set up Kubevip, Metallb, Argocd. So I'm working on getting these all populated. And by the end of the series, they all will be. You can go here. And also feel free to join my Discord. You can click on this link right here. I'll also have it in the bio in my YouTube and in the description. So it was a pleasure to share this of how you guys could build your own Kubernetes cluster. We're going to do it a very nice way. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you.